Sometimes YouTube.
There you go.
Ah, okay, okay.
I think it's gonna work. Because now I see the stream output. At least that's working.
Yeah, I think it's working now.
There you go. We're live.
We're live.
We're live. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Like we're gonna be doing this more often, but today, very special day, at least for me, because I have with me one of my favorite sculptors.
Oh.
If I can call you a sculptor, I guess, like design.
Yeah.
We call character artist, sculptor. We do all kinds of things. But I guess I can call you a sculptor because you've been
Oh,
working for
yeah.
collectibles for the most part. Even though I've seen you've done quite a lot of different things on your career this far.
Yeah.
So Daniel Bell. I don't.
Oh, thank
Hopefully, you
you.
don't need a lot of introductions, but
Thank you, man. Thank you, Raf. Thank you so much for the invitation, man. I'm a huge fan of you, of course, like everyone there. So thank you so much for the invitation. It's a
thanks, man.
pleasure.
Thanks. I've been following your work for a while now. It's been many years. I mean, you've been doing this for how long now?
Actually, I'm pretty new. I'm like a 5, 6 year maximum. I've
Mhm.
been working in different fields of the industry for nowadays for more than 15 years, but the last five are the one I put it more focus on sculpting things. So I'd say I'm kind of new, but I've been doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Industry moves really fast, so that's maybe why.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about the things you've done before, because I know that's what say like you. I don't know if it's like a South American thing or coming from a different, not part of the different side of the industry, but I know you did a lot of advertising and stuff like that, right? Like,
Yeah. Actually, I think it's a kind of North America, South American thing. Yeah, like you said, because we call generalists,
yeah.
which is basically doing a lot of stuff, working in many software at the same time, and for many kind of industries. I've been working for advertising, a little bit of video games, small companies, video games, engineering stuff, architectural visualization, and things like that for more than almost 12 years. So that gave me a lot of perspective and different knowledges and to put in this new field that it is collectible. So
Right.
it was fun. I learned a lot of things. Besides the software, I mean, sometimes the perspective or the eye to put my attention in different things. Like one of the main things that I love to do back at those days was lighting. And yeah, I had the opportunity to work for a few projects as an art director, as in small companies, of course, but it gives me a lot of perspective
Mhm.
to see, lighting and shading and shadows and those stuff
Yeah, yeah.
you can apply in this field, like that you do with your renders
No,
and
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, especially like composition. Like I see every
Yeah,
shot you do, like especially when you're doing like statues, right? It needs to work on every angle. So I can definitely see on your pieces, like when you're doing that, you're looking at the composition of the shot on every angle of the statue. Because even though it's just a model, you
yeah.
have that knowledge that definitely comes through on your pieces. Man.
Thank you, man.
How was that transition for you on the going from the collectibles full time? I guess.
It was crazy. That time, I had a small company with a few friends of mine. We were working for advertising at that moment, giving support, 3D support from different companies and studios and agencies.
Hmm.
And I remember one day I said, "Okay, I wanna do something with characters. I always wanna be a character or something." But I didn't know how to draw or paint, so I said, okay, maybe I have to go to the basics and have take some classes of traditional sculpting. So I started like that, like going to a place in where everyone was like guys, super nerds like me, like
Mhm.
people who talking about video games, movies, and comics, and those kind of things,
Yeah.
and yeah, I felt like in a place in a specific place in the best place to be. So I start working with clay. Just for a few period of time. It wasn't too much, like a few months or maybe a
Mhm.
year. Can't remember. I did some stuff, but immediately I said, okay, maybe I can put that knowledge into 3D. At that time, I tried ZBrush just a couple of times, and I failed
Mhm.
miserably because yeah, what I tried to do in ZBrush was like putting planes, like the blueprints for modeling cars.
Yeah.
I love to model cars. Yeah, we call it modeling, and
Mhm.
so I try to do the same with a
The character.
character. Yeah, I thought that if you put if you copy the front and the side, there you go, you have the character.
Uh,
So it wasn't like that, of course, and I knew immediately that I needed more more information or more knowledge on that.
you just end up
So
with like a box of a character
yeah,
front and
box.
side.
Yeah. It looks great from side and the front, but the 3/4 view wasn't too great.
I remember
So
like back in the days,
yeah,
there was a lot of just orthographics and like
yeah,
because of, I think the poly modeling, but ZBrush
yeah,
wasn't so much around. You needed like blueprints to follow, so because it was a lot harder to just manipulate the shape, right?
yeah. Actually, one of my first tutorials on poly modeling and character poly modeling was Joan of Arc on 3D
Yes.
Total. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
I
That
think
one is
everyone.
a classic.
Yeah, you did it want that one?
I definitely, I think if you're in the industry for more than I would say maybe 8 years, 10 years, you've done that tutorial.
Yeah, that one. The we call we had one from Fiat 500, another cars and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
did it all, everything at that time. Having something to do, something to learn. Like I can't remember exactly, but we had 3D Total, Evermotion. No, Evermotion it is more new.
Pretty total.
Um,
There's
yeah,
CG Talk.
CG Talk
Yep.
and but a few tutorials. Nothing in comparison with nowadays, dude. You
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
whatever you want right now.
I mean,
It's
3D total for me was I think the biggest one. Like I remember just doing every single tutorial in
Yeah,
that website. I owe so much to that website.
yeah. Me too, dude. Me too. So basically, it was like that. The transition was great in terms of how I felt. I mean, I felt great in terms of I really enjoy the process of doing something that I liked but didn't love,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
knew that what I was doing with the characters, maybe I loved that thing more than the other stuff that I was doing.
Hmm.
Because working for the advertising could be so frustrating and stressful
Yeah.
because you work many hours. The client usually don't know what they want, and
Hmm.
they will ask you for changes like every time. So, I mean,
Yeah.
again, it will give you a lot of experience, but
Yeah.
at the same time, a lot of stress. So I think it was a kind of a peaceful transition. uh,
Hmm.
then I did my first character. It was a Beowulf. I think it's behind
Oh, I
the
remember
I
that.
don't know if you can see. Yeah, that one. It is behind Hulk. And with that one, I went to the ZBrush Top of the Row and a few other websites, and I started receiving uh, job offers. That
Yeah.
was crazy too. So that was
So
kind of
was
my
it
first steps.
for you? Was that a conscious decision of going to collectibles, or did you know the industry back then, or was it more of like you like ZBrush and you made a cool like sculpt and it turned into what it is today?
Yeah, no, it was zero idea. I didn't know that you could live doing collectibles or something like that. I mean, I'm from Argentina, and when I was studying in this course, I remember someone told me, "Do you know Martin Canale? Who's Martin Kahn? It is a kind of living legend of the collectible world. And they
Yeah,
show
yeah.
me his work and all the stuff he was doing in traditional, and then they told me, okay, but right now he's using ZBrush. I said, really? Yeah. For which company? Sideshow Collectibles, and he's like one of the associate art directors of that's
Mhm.
crazy. So one day I met him, and we got a great connection. We become friends with the time, and he teach me a lot of things. He taught me a
Yeah.
lot of things about collectibles, and then I understood that you could live working doing
Yep.
superheroes and villains and statues.
That's
It
cool.
was, yeah, it's
That's
cool.
cool to have that connection because definitely Martin is the one of the legends that changed the industry. I remember even when I started with clay sculpting, like I used to look at his work with clay was already like so far
Yeah,
beyond what everybody else was doing, and
yeah, yeah,
some of those guys,
yeah.
when they transitioned to ZBrush, it just unlocked this new, uh, I guess, world of opportunities for them. And definitely him working with Sideshow is one of the key guys of pushing the quality of stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
hundred
cool.
percent, dude. 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The other day we had I had an interview. I did an interview to him, and um, we were talking about that transition for him too. And he told me that it was like a kind of a smooth transition because he was doing stuff on clay, and then he realized that the industry was changing, and I was
Yeah,
asking different things, like maybe like right now with the 3D printing, and
yeah,
it will happen every like a 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. Something will happen that it will change the industry as the way and you have to adapt, or you
hmm,
or you it is adapt or die sometimes.
yeah,
And nowadays everyone at Sideshow is almost 99% of the people there is, even if they had a background with a more traditional sculpting, now they're working for in a digital world. So
yeah. So
yeah.
you're full time at Sideshow now.
Yeah, yeah, a full time there. Yeah, since 3 years, I'm working exclusively for them. So all the pieces, all my daily work, it is basically work for them.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Did you? I saw it like in the chat. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat because there's a lot of people saying hi right
Oh,
now.
hey, hi, dude. Hi, guys. I can see the chat. Where is the chat? Uh,
Just pop up on the on YouTube. That's probably the easiest way. But
it's okay.
someone is asking me to call you
It's okay.
Sculpting Beast. So you are a sculptor. I don't know why.
Thank you. I can see the chat right now. Okay, okay. Hey,
How was
guys.
the transition for full time? Because did you I guess started freelancing for them? Because it's rare to hear that
Hmm.
someone, especially from outside of the U.S., works full time for a collectible company, for a statue company. I don't know what we call it, for
Yeah,
I guess a
it's such a
collectible company.
company.
Yeah. So how was that? How did that happen? I guess.
At that time, I was working for XM Studios, which is a Singapore company. I did some stuff for them, and then Martin told me, he asked me if I, one day if I would want to work for Sideshow too. I said, of course, I want to work for Sideshow. Sideshow, it is one of the best companies in the world, and everyone's want to work for Sideshow. So my first two statues were like a freelance. It was Captain America, the one I have back there, and
Hmm.
Daredevil. Those were freelance. But after that, I say, okay, I'm working for many companies at the same time, and I can't give my 100%, because I have to deal with schedule, with delivery dates, and maybe sometimes overlap those delivery dates, and
Yep.
I can. So I say, okay, guys, if you want to work for you like a full time, just let me know. And they said, sure. I didn't know you wanted to work full time for us. I said, yeah, sure, I want it. It was weird, because at that time I I thought that having a full time job again will be putting some restrictions to my time and to my knowledge or creativity, whatever. But it was the opposite, because I couldn't work like as I wanted at the same time for many companies. It was hard because, like I told you, you have goals, deliveries, dates, and you have to finish it all of them for the same time. So it was crazy. So I started working for them after the second piece. So my third piece was Thor, and at that time I already had a contract. So
It was
it
the
was
jumping one. Is that Thor?
yeah,
That was your
that
first
Thor.
piece?
Yeah, no, that was my third one.
That
Third.
was your third one?
The first one was Captain America. Second one, Daredevil.
Okay.
Third, and this
Okay,
is the
got it.
fourth. This one is the
Fourth
fourth.
one.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
now I
gotta say,
have
man,
a. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say those pieces are fantastic, dude. Like
Thank you, man. Thank
you
you.
are definitely pushing the bars on, because I think that right now there's so many just different studios coming up, and a lot more people are getting the opportunity of like making statues and everything. But for Sideshow to have you put out those pieces, I think to me definitely pushes the bar on all the stuff that people are doing. So
Thanks, man.
kudos to
Appreciate
you.
it.
Just keep doing what you're doing, man. That's why I was
Appreciate
like surprised, like, dude, that Thor was your first piece. No,
no,
that,
that
that
was
Captain
my.
America was pretty dope too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That was crazy because at that time I wanted to do everything in ZBrush, and I didn't know how to do it. All the overlapping, all the layering stuff, and I find out that you can do everything in ZBrush if you want. So because I was using other softwares like 3ds Max and stuff like that. So with the addition of C Modeler, now you can do whatever you want basically. So it was fun. That project was fun. That one you have out there in the slideshow.
Yeah, the Captain America was awesome. It definitely shows kind of your style too, and that was something I wanted to ask you. Like how does that work now with you being part of the studio? Do they give you that kind of freedom, or are they making up? Because I worked with Sideshow before as well, and I know they're very flexible on some of those things.
Yeah.
Do they I guess give you a piece knowing it fits your style, or do you sometimes have to adapt to some specific kind of direction on the line or something like that? Because
No,
all
I
these,
think
like,
yeah,
looking at the Colossus and all these pieces are, even though it's a line, I know you made a lot of just different ones for that line. It definitely speaks you on these pieces. I don't see anybody else doing this type of.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I think that's one of the coolest part to work at Sideshow. I'm not trying to put the Sideshow T-shirt and say, it's cool. No, it is for real. It is super cool because they always ask me what characters you want to do. These are the characters available, and now it is even better because I can say, okay, what if we can do this? I have a list of characters that I would love to work with, and if they are available, I can jump on those projects and can do some sketches. But the way we work, it is very organic. It's super organic. We sometimes, if I have time, I could come with idea, like doing a quick sketch. I don't draw, but I can sketch in ZBrush, so that's kind of fast. Maybe in one day I can do a few poses and the body shape and whatever. And if they like it, I can do like another stage and to polish a little bit more to send it for approval to the license. So it is very organic. Sometimes I receive. I mean, the good part of Sideshow too, it is that we count with the amount of people, a great amount of people, of talented people, like a great and amazing concept artist. The art director is awesome. I don't know, everyone there. It gives you a lot of input, good input to make your work easier. So that's definitely something really cool.
That's something that I like about Sideshow as well, is that there's the trust. Like they hire the artists that they trust, so there's a lot of just good collaboration between all the artists that are working there. Like more often, and I don't want to talk names, but I've worked with companies before where it just feels like there's not a lot of respect for the artists and what they're putting together. So the end result usually is kind of this mixed ideas that that the statue is just not as good, instead of like putting the trust and having a clear direction, which I think Sideshow does a lot of that very well.
Yeah, 100%. It happened to me exactly the same. Like I working for all the companies was I tried to put my style. I mean, everyone has a kind of almost everyone have a style. But I remember like, okay, this is my style, or this is my vision on this piece. And at the past was like, yeah, it is good, but we do the things like this, so change this and that. And it was okay,
Mhm.
you are killing the piece, not because I'm
Yeah.
doing it, but I mean, I think nowadays one of the cool things about this industry is that people who buy this stuff and collect stuff like this, they want to see the artists behind the statue, or better said,
Mhm.
in the statue. The essence of the artist needs to be there.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people who collect basically Canala's statue, because
Yeah.
you can see from the distance if a piece is from him, or what other artist. So
Yeah.
I think that speaks by itself when a
Yeah.
piece comes out from Sideshow. That's
I'm happy to see that coming back because I think like back in the days we had like Bowen statues where it was all like the same style and
yeah,
Sideshow is doing a little bit of that, and I'm always happy to see collectors talk like your name or Martine when they're like, oh yeah, this is a Daniel Bell statue, and it's like, oh cool,
yeah,
man, like finally people are appreciating, and it's not just the company's name behind it, because
yeah,
honestly the company just puts the stamp on it and distribute
yeah,
it, but
yeah.
the 90% of the work without counting factory and production, because I know all
Sure.
that is a beast on itself, and especially now that I'm getting into making my some of my own statues, it's
Hmm.
very challenging, but it's a lot
Yeah.
more of a business side of the the work. Like 90% of the artists behind it is all made by the sculptor and the art
Yeah.
directors and those people, the concept artists as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm glad to see that coming back. Every time I see people attaching names to the work, is like I'm like, thank you. So that's why even this, like, we just got to do more of putting our names out there and just being, representing the work, and you being kind of a front of all this, because I see a lot of most of your statues that are coming out, people are going crazy for.
Yeah, that's so crazy. That feeling. I mean, it is amazing, the support of the collectors around the world. Because in Argentina we have a small group of people, and then US it is a huge. It is the biggest part of the collectors there, and then Europe, but all the people gives you a lot of when someone wants to give you a critic, a comment, a feedback, they give you sometimes, of course, they will not do the best feedback. They will say, I don't like this. Why? Because it is red.
Yeah,
Okay, But sometimes people say, oh, I wish I would like to see next time, instead of that face, this kind of face, because in the comic, and that
yeah,
kind of input is really helpful for me, because not being a huge comic guy, like a nerdy comic, I have to, before every statue, I have to do a lot of research, and knowing what people want is important. And if they give you the feedback, proper feedback,
yeah,
that's really helpful. And so collectors and other artists working in Sideshow, it is great. And going back about like the name of the artist right now, it is a little bit more, it pop-ups more.
hmm
That's something cool about Sideshow too, because they push that they put always in the credits the name of the
yeah,
artist who worked with them there. They make
100%.
these amazing artist profile videos, in which, in
Yep,
my case, I could participate with my family in the video, so it's kind of
yep.
nice, because time will pass and I can show that video to my kids and say, okay,
Mhm. That's
take a
awesome.
look at this. That's awesome,
Yeah,
dude. I don't
yeah.
think that any company, any other company, make things like that. I mean,
That,
at least in the collectible industry.
it is something that in the industry is changing, and I'm glad to see Sideshow, behind that as well. We're putting more of the people in front of it, because then you detach the audience a little bit from the business side of things, right? Like,
Yeah,
the artists and their passion. Like, people are doing this because they love it and they want to make people happy.
yeah,
Um, so I think definitely there's a lot of studios that are doing that. The same thing for Santa Monica and Sony in general, where
hmm,
putting the artists out there so people can realize that you know other other people are making these things. It's not that you
yeah,
just someone pay for it and then it just
yeah.
happens.
It just happened.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
dude. Like,
it's
and
awesome.
it,
100%. Yeah, yeah.
it definitely shows on the result, because some of the
Hmm.
like I mentioned before, some of the problems and some of the I have stories and stories about some of the stuff that I've done before, where studios will change it, and then you lose
Hmm.
passion. You don't even care more about the project, and then it turns into this kind of crap that they have to put it out just because they're going to lose money. So it's very
Yeah,
much like the more they support the artist, the better the result is, and
yeah,
definitely
100%.
shows
Yeah,
on
and
the site.
the people can see that at the same time. I mean, they will support that kind of actions of of the companies promoting the artists, promoting who have worked on the pieces. And in our case, it is totally different from like a video game studio, because you will work with hundreds of people there. But sometimes
Yeah,
on a statue, we work at least at the early process, we would work like a 2 or 3 people, like the art director, project manager, concept artist, and a sculptor. Then, of course, a lot of people will work to will make it happen. But
hmm
that small group of people, if you can give recognition, like just saying, okay, this guy worked on that, and we will promote his name because it is worthy, not only for the company, for the artist too. Like you
yeah,
said, that will show in the final product, because you would work like a harder or with more passion, more
yeah,
happy. Um, it is very important. It's so
yeah.
super important.
It is good too because it shows that the company is stays relevant on the payment and how much they I guess pay the artist to do that. Because if you
Yeah.
are putting the artists out there, you got to make sure you can retain them, right? Like you want to have them work for
Mm.
you. So that shows that a company is mature enough that they can do that. So to me, it's always a huge positive when I see companies from nowhere that are putting out all these statues. I know there's just a lot happening behind the scenes that
Yeah.
it's sometimes are
Yeah.
not the best. So hey, changing subject a little bit.
Sure.
What if you were to start this again? I guess if you were to, let's say you want to work for collectibles and you're starting, you have a little bit of experience. Like,
Hmm.
what are the steps? Because this is a question that I get. I didn't
Yeah.
see pop up on the chat, but we
Hmm.
better just get this out of the way at first.
Okay. Yeah.
What are the steps that you would take to get to where you are today, or just to get into the industry? I guess, like, let's say you just started learning 3D
Uh huh. Uh huh. But focusing in collectibles or
in
in
collectibles.
anything
Yeah,
in collectibles. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay, I think the main thing you should take into account it is well, is portfolio, of course. I think that's something common for every kind of industry. But in my case, I will put attention on try to make understand anatomy, proportions, all the knowledge that you have to understand properly as a basement, because I was listening your other day your talk about the portfolio, right? And other things you should take into account. You need to see on people in order to cut your attention and say, okay, maybe this is a potential artist that they will have to or want to have in my team. But it is kind of similar for me. But I would say that if I have to start again, I would put more attention in just trying to make something that makes a producer or evoke feelings in others. Because one of the main things on statues it is to, I mean, we will do, I don't know, 100 of Batmans, 100 different. You can see right now in the industry, you will find I don't know how
Mhm.
many dozens of Wolverines or any other character. But the ones we'll like a pop up or will highlight are the ones that transmit something to you. And to learn that, it takes time. To learn how to transmit a kind of feeling or emotion through a statue, it is a piece of plastic or image. It is not easy. So I think I would say try to put more time in understanding forms and shapes and how you can do with uh, just a few things, a cool and dynamic pose, and then I will be more worried about learning details and processes to do kind of a different style. At the beginning, it is just shapes and forms and
Yeah,
pose. So I would put more time if I can go to the past, like more time to put
yeah,
emphasis on that part.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Like anatomy, like you mentioned, right? Like it's so big that I see a lot of people going in, and it touches back on what you just said, and just building this crazy like diorama of like three characters like trying to fight each other or whatever, and it's like very complex to the level
Yeah.
that the artist is at the moment. So yeah, like I said, like sometimes you don't need a lot to convey an idea. Like if you just keep it simple,
Yeah.
focus on the forms, get it to where it needs to be. Like
Yeah.
even like there's this artist that I'm sure a lot of you guys know, like Steve Lord, that
Mm.
like a lot of these pieces are very much just kind of the gesturing and the kind of the anatomy is like of course on point. Like he's one of the
Hmm.
best anatomy
Yeah.
sculptors out there, but he can convey like just very simple without details or anything. Like you can get the feeling of like how awesome a piece will be, right? If you take it to
Yeah.
completion. I think Gio Napko also like
Oh
does a
yeah.
lot of that, where it's just the gesturing, like the emotion. It's just there's a lot behind it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get to that point.
It takes a long time. Yeah, but if you focus your attention on that, will take, I will say, less time. I mean, there's no number. Maybe it could take you a year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever. But I think it is the most important thing right now to understand. The only thing the most important part of the piece, it is that if you take a look from the distance, you will say, oh, dude, what is that? And then if you look closer, you will see all the details, which is
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
accessories. It's not super necessary to be there
Mhm.
sometimes. That's why some pieces like Flash, for example, I push to do less details or not add any kind of texture on his suit. It is a plain suit with a lot of anatomy and motion there. Try to catch attention of the motion without putting details. But if you take a close look, you will see kind of small wrinkles and stuff, but not much of that. The most important was the anatomy and the motion. So that's
How,
yeah.
since we have this one up, how was the process for that one? Like I know I've seen these shots where it's just more of the ZBrush kind of
Hmm.
anatomy. Do
Hmm.
you do this before you do the details, or do you go back and because you're gonna have to do all the details manually here,
Yeah.
like asymmetrical, I guess. Like this is very asymmetrical pose, but how do you go about that? How do you decide that from the beginning?
Yeah, I just, my workflow, it is a kind of it's almost always the same. I use a mannequin, the mannequin in ZBrush, and
Mhm.
I pose it. I try to get a pose, then I convert it to polymesh and start just adding some volumes to see something that looks like a character, trying to match the shape of the character because it's not the same body of a Wolverine that Flash, right? So you have different physique, and that's the first thing that I want to catch.
Right.
And then it is like a step by step. After I'm getting the approvals and moving forward, but I'm always work on without symmetry because you can't do it with symmetry in a pose like this. I mean, even if you have the most advanced rig, let's say that if you can, it
Yeah,
will
yeah.
never
There's no
look.
way.
Yeah, you never look like a
Yeah.
real one, right? So you don't have any other option that like work without symmetry. Sometimes, of course, you can make a sculpt a wood, and then that wood you can mirror and try to adapt it to the other food because
Mhm.
that's or some details. But body would be always like a
Is the
and
face then a
symmetry.
separate file that you keep symmetrical,
Yeah, at the
or do
beginning,
you?
the beginnings, the phases, I started with symmetry because it's far faster to get shapes and to play with it with volumes. The part is maybe the one of the most complicated ones because I'm not usually take reference from real persons because if you do that, you will the end result will look like a real person. So I'm look
Mhm.
more for the comics, and what I do it is basically I have the head with symmetry, and I'm trying to get the feeling of the comic with a mixture of a real head. So
Yeah.
if you can do that without symmetry, but it will take more time, and it doesn't. I mean, it's not necessary. Then you can put it there, and you can work without symmetry to make the expression
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or whatever.
Perfect. Yeah. So for things like the boots and stuff like that, do you sculpt and, like you said, sculpt and duplicate, mirror,
Yeah,
put it on
yeah,
position, stuff like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because otherwise, you can have the same soul or the same details on. I mean, on the things. that needs to look symmetrical, like body parts. I don't know if the character, if, for example, Colossus has a kind of armature in his forearms. Of course,
Hmm.
I do that with symmetry, or even
Yeah,
boots,
yeah, yeah.
accessories, stuff like that. I will do it with symmetry, of course.
That's awesome. It's awesome that you touch on that because it is. You probably get the same question over and over, where
Yeah,
there is no shortcuts to sculpting poses and like
yeah,
because I get a lot of comments and people asking, it's like, hey, but I put on the pose and everything was distorted. I was like, yeah, that's why you have to come up with ways to, smart ways to optimize the workflow. So that is
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. Actually, so I remember one day, someone asked me about if why I'm sculpt the anatomy, and then I put uh, something on top, like a suit or whatever. What's the reason why if it will never display? And my answer is super easy, because it's the most the most fun part. It is the anatomy. I mean, sculpting anatomy and sculpting, to me, I love anatomy. I love all the ways you can sculpt different bodies and different I don't know, abs or pecs or whatever. And I know sometimes I will cover that with something, that an accessory or whatever, but it is fun. Like and I learn in the process a lot. I learn a lot in the process if I'm
I mean,
making one over and over.
it definitely shows the difference because you see a lot of work when someone didn't do that step and then it
Hmm.
shows at the end, right? Like it doesn't look right. So all you can say is go back and look at your anatomy again. So you
Yeah,
doing that is awesome.
thank
How
you.
how how was it for you just studying anatomy? Like how did you do that to get to this point?
Oh, it was a long, a long way. I remember I started with books. I had some families that are doctors, and they gave me some, books, but from medicine, from the same books they have studies with those, and it was terrible because are super technical. And at that time, I didn't know that you can get anatomy book for artists. I didn't know.
Hmm.
So I just tried to see the pictures and try to put it there in the model. And, but the problem with that was you can't understand how the body reacts and how the body mechanics is, and how, if a muscle, if I don't know, if you raise an arm, what happened with your scapula, all those details.
Yeah.
You will miss it. So the anatomy books will give you that information. I remember one of my favorite books. It's called How to Draw, no, Drawing from Life, from Richmond.
Mm.
Uh, it is a purple book, a small book. It is awesome.
Yeah.
That book teach me a lot of things.
I think I have
Yeah,
it here. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's fun.
it is a fantastic book, and I have a lot of there. Um, but I learned a lot from books and from watching other people. One of my big reference is Scott Eden. He's awesome. Of course, Steve Lore. It is the king of anatomy, like you said. And
Mm.
there are many amazing sculptors. Eric Wilson. It is another guy who is awesome in anatomy, and Andrew Kors, and you have plenty of great artists. Just that if you only just watch what they do, you can learn with the process on,
Yeah, yeah,
and you can match it, and with the help of with the books you can understand what you're doing. Because one of the most I think one of the most mistakes, common mistake that I'm seeing, it is people trying to match what they see without understanding what they're doing. It is just copying, and
yeah, yeah.
then when you have a pose with an arm rise, you don't know, they don't know what happened. And the only
Yeah,
way
yeah.
you can do that, it is just, okay, go into a book, what happened when with the with the rotation of your clavicle, what happened, why
Yep.
your, I don't know, your peg is looking like that. So I think books are great tools, and at the same time you will find like the big names I told you, like as an inspiration, but at the same time as great instructors.
Yeah, yeah. Did you do a lot of just one-off studies, or did you apply it as you were doing your kind of more full-fledged type of pieces projects, or did you do like small kind of just an arm or just a leg?
No, back at those days. I remember that I put more focus on parts. But I think it was a kind of mistake because it took me more time to understand what happened with a full body.
Everything. Yeah.
So yeah, so I think nowadays what I do it is basically, or what I recommend, it is just do a full body without putting too much attention in the muscles, but in the forms. Just try to look the forms and then go just part by part. Like, okay, now we're working with the biceps. But what I usually do it is just jumping all around, like not putting too much attention just in one place, just jumping around every time. So it is a kind of you will develop a kind of process that will be a little bit different from the same process you started when you started.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of the learning curve. I think learning process.
Yep. No, that's awesome.
Mhm.
So how I know it varies a lot, but can you give us kind of a kind of big picture of like how the process works at for some of these statues and like how long it takes,
Sure.
or if you
Um,
have to cancel projects as well,
yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, it is. It depends. I usually took me like a 2 months per statue. This one, I remember, it took me 3 months because sometimes you have a lot of back and forth, not only
Mhm.
with the licensors, not much, but yes, with your the studio, with the company. Sometimes you have to try, one thing, and in order to they approve, they have to see it. So I remember with this one, I tried different poses for the back arm, because at the same time it is in statue and it has a lot of volume, and this thing someone will put it in a shelf, so it can be super crazy. It can be like a huge, because it will not fit in your shelf. So you have to take into account a lot of things that it is more attached to your kind of industry.
Mhm.
I mean, like collectibles always will have a kind of it is not a problem. It is just you have to be conscious about the space you will take. It is just set up a box and then work inside of that box.
Mhm.
Because if someone goes a little bit further, it will not.
Yeah.
It will take another space that is not for
Yeah.
for 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 a statue. But
Well, tell that to some other companies who are just going crazy.
I know. That's funny because at the beginning I worked for XM, and XM it is more, everything is bigger and crazier, and for
Yeah.
one part it is fun because I remember they told me, Danny, don't worry about the engineering part, and don't worry about just make it look cool. Okay, oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Then when I start the sideshow, it is like, no, we have to be worried about space, and you have to be worried about engineering as well. That's all, dude. I'm not prepared for that. But at the same time, it helps you to work smart. It is you just can do a floating character without
Mhm.
thinking in a support to the base or whatever. I mean, maybe you
Yeah.
can do it. It is the case of Thor, for example. In Thor, I said, okay, Thor was a kind of special project for me because it was the first one that I said the initial idea was different. So I say, I have an idea. Can I show you, or can I pitch my idea? I said, yes, of course, but you have to do it, because I can't go upstairs and say, okay, Danny has an idea. Oh, that's perfect. No, you have to show
Yeah.
them. Okay, so I did a sketch, and it was a kind of difficult because the character is jumping and is about to smash with his hammer. So you have a lot of weight, not unbalanced, but yes, without being um, super balanced. So I put it like I thought in put one metal peg inside. One of the chunks of the lava chunks have to be attached, or have to be more thicker than the others to be. I mean, you have to start thinking in the production
Mhm.
to be able to make the sculpts, because otherwise you can have the best idea in the world, but if they will not able to make it, it will not happen.
Yeah.
So that sometimes it takes time. It is 2 months, 3 months approx, with the stages of approval, something like that.
Yeah. So do you do a lot of sketches initially, or just the one that you like, and there's a lot of back and forth, or you try to just propose a couple of different ones?
No, sometimes it's always depends on the project. Sometimes we have a concept and we say, okay, this concept was approved by the people who is in charge, and that's okay. But then when you transfer that to the concept in 3D, a lot of things will pop up that sometimes it will look from the same angle it was created, but this is a 3D 360-degree statue, so you have to look cool from every angle. Of course you will put. I try to put more attention in the 3/4 view, the main front view, and the 3/4 side. But of course the back too, because the main show in where these pieces will be displayed, it is Comic-Con, San Diego, New York, whatever, and they put it in the middle of something, and people can walk around and they will see it from every angle. And so transferring to the concept, sometimes it takes like a one sketch, 2, 3, 4 sketches. Sometimes if the concept doesn't work for that pose, we will change it, and then we will back again to the approval to Marvel or DC, whatever. So it is a fun process, because the early stages are fun to do. It doesn't take too much time, and you can put a lot of your creativity there. Sometimes your ideas. Sometimes you can say, okay, this looks awesome, but what if we can do this, like I did with Thor, and maybe your idea will take place. So it is that kind of work. It is free work. Yeah.
So then, so you're doing the engineering as well at the end?
Oh yeah, that's the awful part. The engineering, all the keys and cuts. I mean, it is the technical part. It is the I remember this piece has almost 60 cuts, 60 pieces, and that's a lot, because you have to take, once you did all the details on the stuff there, now you have to realize how to cut it without trying to make the seams visible, and at the same time trying to keep all the details you did. And I remember one of the main when do you remember when the Boolean came out? It was a game changer. That was a game changer for us, because before Booleans we have to do it with Dynamesh, and do you remember that? Right? That was terrible. Now I'm happier with the Booleans.
No, it's way better. Yeah, I did my share of Dynamesh statues and cuts. It was a pain in the ass. Not if it was like very consistent, it would be fine.
Yeah.
But that thing was just very unreliable. But like after now with the Boolean, it's a lot easier. But still, the reason I ask you because the projects that I did with Sideshow, and there's a couple ones that I did that haven't come out yet, and I did the cuts as well. So
there are some companies they do not ask you for making the cuts, because they will do it in the same place they do the production. But Sideshow, I think we do it because we have to take everything under control, and I understand that, because it makes sometimes something that's very important. If you don't do the piece, someone else will do it. I mean, if you don't do the cuts, someone else will do it. And if that guy, he doesn't take too much care of all the details you put it there, they can erase it. They can lose some details. It is perfect. It is better if you can take control of your own thing.
How is it for you when you see like the final result for? Because I know a lot of usually the complaints we get is like, oh yeah, maybe the paint job is not as good, and maybe the factory didn't do a good job here and here. Or like you said, maybe there's some gaps in the cuts where things don't fit as well. Like, what's your reaction? Or I don't know if you have a lot of contact on that. Or
I have contact on actually during the whole process, from the beginning of the very end. Actually, we can work with the photo shooting with the people who is the artists, the photographers, to say, okay, maybe we can put this angle better, or at this light, or at this background better. So. But we can have feedback from, okay, they will send, in my case that I work from home, they will send me pictures like, okay, today the raw print came out, and we have this sometimes these mistakes here, this error that will fix it, whatever. So then I can see the paint process, and we can add, give comments. But I mean, Sideshow have the best painters in the world. It is amazing, for real. And so even you can say, okay, maybe because when I'm working, I'm painting the statues in the digital, because it is a kind of it is better, because you can see which parts you will need more detail or you will not need details, and at the same time you can send that to the painters so they can have a reference. So it is a back and forth during the whole process, and that's a cool part, because you feel like they take into account your opinion from the very beginning to the very end, and that's makes you feel even happier, because you really feel part of the entire process. Not just the one who executed the piece and that's it. Another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shout out to Casey Love too, because I know he
Yeah.
worked like one of the best painters in.
He painted this one. He was the one who painted the Hulk.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
that piece,
awesome.
man, that piece is awesome. I missed it, but it's probably too big for my.
Yeah, I think I do. You can do some space there. You can, if you move.
Yeah, I got that Thor. The Thor is coming. I like that.
Oh, really? Awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, when I first saw that one, I was like, okay, that's Daniel did this one.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate
Just
it.
the attention to like the details and stuff, dude. Like the hands and everything is. So I remember, what's his name? Andy Berholtz.
Yeah.
Berholtz. Yeah.
Bertholtz. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like some of his early sculpts for Sideshow. Was like, okay, I could tell it was from him, because like the attention to detail, like hands, like everything is like
It's
kind
awesome.
of, I get the same vibe from the work that I see from you, where
No, thank you, man.
I just know you spend the time. Because so to me, it's a little bit frustrating, because I do some work on the side as well for Sideshow and from some other collectibles, but I know how much work it takes.
Oh yeah.
And how much time you have to spend on, like, when I do my quick like models and renders and all that, and Photoshop or whatever, is like so fast, and I can get some stuff looking okay,
Yeah.
in like a couple of days. But to get to this level of like polish, like even the Wolverine that I did is just like so much work. Like if you look at it, it's just like a guy in spandex and it's all anatomy and muscles. Like, okay, easy enough. So like when you actually start making it.
Yeah, it takes time. Yeah, even if you think you have to take into account that you need to do a pose which is have to be believable. Even if it's a museum pose, which is the most standard poses, it has to be look cool, and that takes time. Sometimes I have in the first week, I have the piece almost finished in terms of how it will look. Then it will take me like a month and a half to make it happen, or even 2 months to to go to every single detail, to make it by hand, try to not using any kind of assets from like a pre-made assets, try to put like a really put love and make everything by hand, not using things that you can buy from online. I mean, it is not bad if you can use it, but it will add more value if you can do everything from scratch, because that's the way the traditional artists would do, So I'm trying to put that more of that essence there, because sometimes people think that the traditional artist has more, they put more value on the statues because they made it by hand, they don't have symmetry, they didn't cheat, they say they didn't cheat, but I think if you can tell people that you're not cheating, you're just using another tool, and you are putting the same amount of passion and love in the statues, and you can really put it there, it will speak by itself when the piece come out, and it will show that. So that's what I'm trying to do on the pieces.
And you're talking more about like pre-made alphas, or like a kit bash or something like that?
More than kit bashes. Pre-made alphas I use a lot for skin texture, because I do a lot of handwork for skin, but maybe the base skin I use some alphas, of course, like fingernails or the knuckles or stuff like that. but then
Yeah.
I have to work there. Sometimes a hand could take me 1 or 2 days to make it look cool. I mean, you
Yeah.
can do a hand in an hour if you want, but to make it really cool, I will take it will take me a few days, and I
Yeah.
will use some alphas. But I'm just trying to say, like, for example, I don't know here, but I don't know, a pre-made, I don't know, like a belt buckle or something like that. I prefer to do it myself, using
Sure.
references than just using something from other. I mean, it's not bad. It is just a personal decision.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, I got it. And it definitely comes true when you kind of showing the work, because you would see, a lot of it just looks different from everything else, which is good. It's unique.
Thank man.
So, guys, we're gonna do some questions on the chat too in a little bit. So, send some questions there. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and this is more of a personal, I guess,
Sure.
curiosity, and like, how's the market or the industry in Argentina, or kind of
Hmm.
South America, for like collectibles in your point of view?
Um,
We had some I guess movement in Brazil, like with like Iron Studios.
yeah,
There's some companies that are coming up now. Finally, when you sometimes you just need some sort of investment, because there's a lot of good sculptors, and
yeah,
most of the work, anyways, they're done in the U.S. or produced in China,
yeah,
if not 100% of them. There's
yeah,
still some custom stuff that's done, like Gentle Giant and like different studios that are local that
yeah.
produce more one-offs. But for most of the or all of the companies who make collectibles, they do in China anyway. So sometimes it's just getting someone to start it.
Yeah, definitely.
So how is it looking right now
Yeah,
over
definitely.
there?
Well, we don't have any kind of company, a collectible company like Iron Studios, or even smaller, because Argentina has a lot of problems with exporting and importing stuff. So having thinking, one of the first ideas that I had, it was, okay, great. I know how to make sculptors. I will put my own company, because I know people around the world. I know factories and whatever. It's easier. Then when you realize all the things you have to pay, all the things you have to present, it is crazy. It is not, definitely not like even Brazil, or even, of course, not like US, which is more easier to make or create a company from scratch. I mean, you can do it, but you will find a lot of blocks during the way, a lot of things, big stones that will not, give you the chance to make it properly. So that's why there are no companies here. So we have a small group of collectors, of course. Sometimes we do like reunions
Hmm.
of these collectors. They came like the last time we were like 100 people there, all who collect for of Sideshow pieces, of Iron Studio pieces, or the companies too. But people who work in a studio here, it doesn't exist yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
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 What about this Comic Con? And I've seen you did a Comic Con
Yeah.
last year or something. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
going?
Yeah. We have a Comic Con. It is nice. I mean, there's not much places for the only thing that I don't like about our Comic Con, it is the treatment with the artists is not the same, like I don't know, like Comic Con or and San Diego or the countries. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it is bad treat. I'm just saying that you have to pay very high prices to go and present your stuff there, and it is like should be different. Should be they will have to put a price, but not so high, so you can display your stuff and have more promotion. Because I
True.
think it is good for a country to promote their own artist to the world.
Mhm.
I don't think they do that very very well. But yeah, we still have Comic Cons are pretty huge, not as huge as Brazil or even the US, of course, but
Mhm.
we still have people that love pop culture here and enjoy Comic Con. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Brazil got kind of crazy on the last few years because of the kind of the Comic Con that started over there, and then the Iron Studios. That I guess the reason why that worked is because the owner was like the biggest importer of statues
Yeah,
in South America, so he had like that knowledge of just that side of the business, because it is very tricky. And Even for me, like doing a little bit of my own statues, like every time with like South American countries like Brazil,
It's crazy. Yeah, it's
it
so
is
complicated.
such a pain. It's frustrating because like I can do anything, and there's the guys are just waiting on the pieces. Sometimes that you have to just pay a crazy fee to
Yeah,
get the statues, and I just feel bad.
yeah, and the problem is sometimes people they think that we are the problem. I mean, but sometimes I mean we do what we have to do. Then the
Yeah,
companies who is sending the pieces are the one in charge, and it doesn't depend more on you. So uh,
yeah.
yeah, it is not so easy to.
And so, what do you see? Because I know with all these companies like Iron Studios and XM, and I know there's plenty of other ones, Prime One,
Yeah.
all these other ones, and I know like Sideshow more recently, I don't know if it was like last year or a couple of years, they've been like distributing all
Hmm.
the, and this is not a question that'll put you on the spot or anything,
No,
but
no.
like what are you what are your thoughts on just like quality overall, and like how, like where do you see the industry going like in the future?
Um, I think it's growing so fast. I mean, I've been this year. I've been watching the presentation of the Iron Studio did, presenting all the statues they were working and they will put it. And it is incredible how much attention to the details and to the essence of these characters they put. So the smaller companies are becoming big companies like Iron Studios or Prime One. Well, Prime One it is a big company too. So I think with the pass of the time and with the new technologies coming soon, we are getting more and more. I think more maybe will exist more small companies that with the time will become bigger. But one
Yeah,
of the things that Sasha did really well it is distributing like products from other companies. So that's gave there the opportunity to you know people who is going to buy something from Iron Studios in US, they have to go through Sideshow webpage, so they will take a look to other pieces we are doing as Sideshow, right? So
right.
I think uh, how the companies are evolving in a way it is um, more like they're trying to help each other to put. I mean, not the competition is not being a real competition. It is more like a collaboration on the companies and the public. The people will pick whatever they want, whether
Yeah,
they
yeah.
fit more for the price or the what they are looking for.
Mhm.
A few times you will see like one particular piece will look similar to another one. That's pure coincidence. So we are not trying to copy other companies or
Sure.
other companies copy us. But I think the future it is a more in a collaboration way, and more companies, emerging companies will rise. I think that will be cool because more people, more artists will be able to work in this
Oh,
industry.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I hope so.
For sure. I had a conversation with Igor
Yeah,
like last year or something, and he was like he said something like man, there's so many statues coming out. Like,
yeah,
who buys all this stuff?
yeah.
Like, he said something like that. I'm like, dude, you can if you can double the amount of statues in the market right now, people will still buy every single one of them
Yeah, I think even
because
more
like
now. Now with the COVID thing, it is crazy, but people is putting more attention in the social medias, and they are
yeah,
getting more and more connection with the companies, and I don't know,
yeah.
maybe they get bored and they say, okay, I will buy a statue. I don't know.
It's still not like a like mainstream like type of thing because like it's very like a niche of like collectors that buy, but it is getting more and more people are coming up. And well,
Definitely.
even myself, I want to buy some statues and like you can't find them. Like it's just like they go so fast. If you don't pre-order them,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
gone.
yeah. It is crazy. It is crazy, and yeah, we are working in so many pieces at the same time, and with different sculptors and different projects and different lines. People will be crazy with all the things we are doing. And like I told you, the other day, I saw that presentation from Iron Studios, and they working on many different licenses. I don't know. Even
Yeah.
I saw Power Ranger statues that I look so awesome that I want to have those. Even if I'm not a huge fan of Power Rangers, but
Yeah.
I think companies are making some licenses that it wasn't too good at the past, making
Yeah.
make it look awesome right now. So more people wants to buy those
That's
licenses.
true. But also because Sideshow owns the Marvel, nobody can take the Marvel license.
Yeah,
Like at least the 1/4 and 1/6 scales, and
yeah,
that's why you
one
see
five.
like crazy
Yeah,
giant, like I don't know, like half a life size. I don't know how you call those, like just
yeah, life
marbles.
size. Yeah, life.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
like Iron Studios doing like all the 1/8 scale, like crazy dioramas, which is awesome. Like I'm glad they did went on that kind of market that wasn't being explored
yeah.
and kind of find their way into the big picture, which is cool.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I'm saying. That it is more collaborating a movement than just being super competitive to each other.
True.
I think that's something cool about the market right now.
Are you looking to do some original pieces with them, or is your stuff more comics, and that's kind of what you like to do?
We have something maybe for the future. You know that Sideshow, they have the Court of the Dead IP, so that's something that could happen in the future. I would like to try some things for Court of the Dead or maybe another IPs. But right now, I'm putting all the focus on making
Yep.
comic stuff characters. So now
As a
more in the building. I'm doing some other stuff, just more than just superheroes. So that's
Okay.
something new for me, which I'm enjoying a lot. And I think people will see other kind of statues in a few months. I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Cool, man. Let's do a couple questions before
Sure. Yeah.
we jump here. There's some Arthur asked like what South American artists inspire you both. I think we talked a little bit about that, but if you have any kind of just names that you want to throw out there.
Sure. Originally from South America, of course, you, Raf. It's not because I'm talking with you, but you one of I remember.
That's why I asked this question.
Yeah, I
You, you
know. No, for real. You, Igor, I love Igor stuff. I love. I'm trying to think more in the, let's say, more of my generation, because we all
okay.
knew about like I told you, Steve Lord or Mark Newman or Martin Canali, of course. But the new generation of artists are really, really awesome. I mean, I think we are trying to do different things from the past in comparison with the past, and I think we are more connected to the new technology, so we can do more kind of new styles of things, and that's what I love. What you do, what Igors do, what Glauco do. I don't know why many artists are from South America. Have you seen that? It is it's crazy. Great.
we do have
It is crazy, dude. Yeah.
most of these artists that, especially from Brazil, that do what we do. Like I think Alex Oliver was one of the guys who kind of started, especially when ZBrush came out, and it's kind of that generation of like kind of what we are now, because it literally takes 5 to 10 years to get to this point.
Yeah.
So it's from that generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing on the water like people say.
Yeah.
Maybe a lack of water, no clean water.
Maybe.
Here's Aaron or Erem asks if you work in house for Sideshow or are you working from home. And that's a good question because I forgot to ask you, like,
Mhm.
if you ever consider moving to the US, or was how
Yeah.
you just from Argentina.
Yeah, now of course I'm working from home because of the situation, but it was crazy because a few months on March we were going to States with it, trying to establish there with the family, but everything just exploded and the things changed
Also,
so
you
fast.
you were gonna move here then.
Was that?
Is- So it was happening. You're gonna move here.
Yeah, we were trying. Like, we have some good offers from the company, and say we should try. I mean, the problem
Yeah.
is, in South America, we are so attached to our families and our friends, and I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that in US or in Europe they are not, but we are different, So it is a difficult decision to say, okay, yeah, let's leave everything there and move to another country. But at the same time, Argentina, it is not the best country in the world in terms of economy, sometimes
Hmm.
crime levels and stuff like that. So definitely was an option to move there, and maybe we will resume that when everything is go back to normal. But at the moment, I'm working super fine from home, and until all this thing end, we will see. We'll see.
Well, I definitely hear you on the kind of security economy. Not to say that the U.S. now is the greatest economy
No,
of,
no, of course not.
all time, but it's definitely like coming from these countries, you definitely understand the difference.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hope it happens. Like you would have a second family here if you ever move.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I will visit you often. I would say, hey, to
Yeah,
knock the door. It's me.
that'd be great. I didn't know that, so yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully, all this craziness and the
Yeah, dude.
pandemic and everything stops, so we can
Yeah,
go
dude.
back to.
Yeah, dude. It was crazy. The last time I went to LA, I could visit some companies. I went to Naughty Dog, and I met Frank and Colin and other guys. And I remember send a picture to my friends here. It was like, dude, how's that possible? It is like these companies are here. I mean, in the US, all the companies for we are working of, or in my case, for the ones I dreamed to work with are there. So I don't know
Mhm.
if like you said, I don't know if the best is US has the best economy, but maybe has the best chances or possibilities to work
Industry.
in the industry. Yeah, in the industry
Yeah.
we want it. So
Yeah, that's for sure. I think the core of the industry is entertainment industry in general is very strong here. So
yeah,
plenty of opportunity. Sure.
plenty. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with the now that kind of the world is changing because of the pandemic and everything. If studios are going to start opening their doors a little bit more, I know we are at Sony,
Hmm.
like just adapting as the
Yeah.
world changes. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it will get more, just give more opportunity for people from
From
outside.
yeah, from outside. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of you know understand how to work with people outside and not having leaking problems, even more for companies like video game companies. I think
Mhm.
I don't know, I will not say that leaking through the entire process of a video game it is an issue, but it is a big issue. So maybe working from home with people that you don't know, it maybe could
Yeah,
put that on risk. But like you said, I think if we don't adapt to this situation, uh, I don't know what will happen. So we have to adapt.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely something that we take in consideration because you work with things that are very very easy to leak, but there are so many steps
Yeah,
to the of security that sometimes is very annoying.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it all comes down to adapting, right? Like if everybody's doing that, and there are companies that work that uh, as their base of the business. So
hmm,
I think like for Sony, for example, it was a very tricky subject to talk about, where it's like, oh, this guy's gonna work from home, and it's like only if it's like the last thing that this person can ever do if you work from home. But now, now it's just
you don't
a
have any other
situation that
options. Yeah, you don't have any other
yeah,
choice.
you're like, see, I told you, you should work from home. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
I have some friends at Sideshow that they working from home, and they have some art directing profiles and positions, and they are saying the same. I can do this from home, and we can still working at the same rate and quality, and I think it's a matter of getting uh, you know trust on the people you have, that they can do it, because having a routine for the ones who are just get used to go to an office a certain amount of hour at the morning and going back to home at 5 or whatever. It is not the same when you have to go work at home. You have your kids, you have your family there, you have to put your own routine and try to make it happen. So it is not easy, but it's not impossible, of course.
It is definitely not easy.
It's definitely not easy. Yeah.
I personally, I cannot wait to go back. Not just because of the family and the work hours, but like it is very hard to manage a big team
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you just go walk someone's desk and have a conversation and grab like, here, come with me, like let's go. So there's just more a lot of that.
Yeah.
Reviews when you go like meetings and stuff where it takes a little bit to do it online. I'm not saying you cannot do it, but
Of course.
there's that missing link that, especially with a huge team and a lot of collaboration,
Sure.
unless if you don't have like a very strong tools to
Yeah.
pull that off, it's very hard.
Yeah, I know.
Thankfully, like, Sony does have like very strong tools, and you can make it happen. But I cannot wait to go back.
Yeah. But at the same time, missing the connection with the people. I mean, it is kind of hard, because you can have a communication through the best tools you can have, but at the same time, you're missing that contact. So the human contact. So that's important too.
Yeah.
Uh,
So here, Tato asked, well, where did you study in Argentina? I don't know if you were self-taught or did you go to school or something?
No, self-taught. Everything I learned was self-taught. I didn't have any kind of art school about digital arts or whatever. And the art schools here are more, they put more focus on the manual stuff, which is okay, and history, which is awesome too. But I didn't have any good options for studying all the things I know right now. It was all through internet, through YouTube. Even nowadays, anything that I don't know, it is YouTube, or just putting whatever you want, and you will learning in a few minutes. It's up to you guys. It's totally like that, 100%.
And that touches on this question by Agus.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any tips for a modeler from Argentina to work in Santa Monica, what we have to achieve to work there. And it's we talked a little bit about that at the beginning, and Daniel touched base on the portfolio, which is the most important thing. And the way you build that portfolio is, studying with time and then making projects that show your knowledge. But you would have to, a little bit different than the conversation that we're having today for collectibles. If you want to work for games, you want to have some game focused projects in there, some like low res bakes, textures, the whole process of like making a character for games. And today, like we're looking, not to say that it's way different than what we're seeing Daniel do, because the biggest part of it is the high res. There's just a little bit of the technical side that you have to consider.
Yeah.
And then what Daniel was talking about, like technical aspects of making a statue, which is there's a lot of them. There's this other side of like making a game character that will replace what he was talking about. Mm. But at the end of the day, it's just portfolio, and then you can learn, especially if you're from South America or Argentina, you can learn everything online these days.
Oh yeah, definitely. Whatever you want. And at the same time, you have people like I don't know, like you, other great reference that I'm sure you will. Now you're doing some of these live streamings and answering questions, but at the same time, every time that at least someone asks me something, I will answer, because it is it is the best way we can pay back for all the love and support from the people from social media. So you not only have the YouTube and Google, you have a lot of artists that can help you during the process to learn anything.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before we started the live stream, but I think for me and Daniel is also doing a lot of live streams himself. Mm-hmm. Which is very exciting. But I think we're starting doing this just to see if we can share a little bit of the knowledge that we got throughout the years, and the same thing that we got from different websites. Like now we're just trying to give it back. It's, I think we're in a position now to try to help some of the people who are pursuing this career, because it is not an easy career, to be honest. Like I see there's a lot of people trying, and it takes time, just like any other job that you take 4 to 5 years to 6 to 10 years to get to a company like Sideshow or Sony or some other studio. So it definitely takes time, guys. It's something that you have to dedicate your time to just, you know, your lifetime, I guess, to get,
Yeah.
as good as you can. Because like Daniel said as well, you always adapting and changing
Yeah.
every year, every 5 years. So, giving, I hope this helped you guys for sure. Like the anatomy classes or live streams or talking about the industry. It's something that the knowledge is not so much spread out. We have like conventions and events and some of those things, but like this one-on-one conversation, at least for me, on
Yeah.
our industry, is something that we don't have as much. So
Yeah.
hopefully this helps some of you guys.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Let me
Definitely.
see. Get some more questions before we head out.
Yeah.
Someone asked about just sculpting in the pose, and we did get out of the way at the beginning. If you
Yeah.
sculpt with symmetry in the pose, so go back. The video is going to be available after this, so
Yeah.
go back and check that out.
Sure.
Let's see here. What's the most important thing when it comes to present your models?
I will say it is the forms and shapes. I don't, in my personal case, I don't pay much attention to if it's colored, if it has a great render. I mean, sometimes having good shapes with the and gray, just the PBR of ZBrush, it's good enough. Just one light,
Mhm.
two lights, whatever, that shows what you can do with your anatomy knowledge or with your sculpting knowledge or whatever. And I think I've seen why I'm saying this because sometimes I'm seeing amazing renders with a lack of knowledge, on the model, on anatomy proportions, but the render is amazing. And sometimes I'm seeing crappy renders, but with an amazing statues, with not the statues, I mean models. So it is
Yeah,
just to try to put more. Sometimes, for example, Gio Napkel, he doesn't done much rendering stuff. He can, of course, but he presents his stuff sometimes with just gradient background and just
yeah,
standard material. It looks freaking awesome, or Steve
yeah.
Lord, or whatever. And you can clearly see what that people have inside, the knowledge he has. So I would
Mhm.
say just try to make the best as you can, and put it. It doesn't matter about how many things you have. It is about the quality you can give. It is like I told you many times, like I told in my live shows or my live streamings. It is just try to make at least one great piece that can show what you can do, and put everything there. Don't try to do like a one, two, three, four, five things, thinking that you will be better if you do more stuff. Just do one thing as best as you can. Put all the attention and in a nice presentation, but not going too crazy. And at least in my case, I'm just trying to see the forms and shapes and anatomy and proportion and stuff like that. Movement.
That's good. I think you touched on an interesting uh, topic there, because I see a lot of people trying to copy some of the presentations that you would see some other artists do,
Yeah.
and I think you have to understand it's not because of the that an image look cool that you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like I think you have to look at the images and look at your portfolio and kind of find what you want to do, because if you want to sculpt as a profession, work for collectibles, then the sculpture is the most important thing,
Oh
right? It's
yeah.
not the render, it's not the texturing, it's not the crazy lighting. It's just like, how do you present your sculpture? And like Daniel said, is like, make it gray, like make it simple, show off the sculpt, because that's what you're going to be doing. And it's the same thing for games. Like if you want to work for games, then the final game model is like the most important thing. So you need to have some of that stuff present on your portfolio. So
Yeah.
I think look at what you want to do and focus on how you present that in a way. You don't need to have a realistic human face rendered with skin
Yeah.
shader and eyes and eyelashes, eyebrows, like all that stuff. Like even though it looks awesome,
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to pick and choose what do you want to be working with, so
Yeah.
you can use your time on that, right? Like you don't need to copy, you know, this type of work just because just because you like what this person is doing. Just think about what you guys want to work with and focus on that.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Yeah. It always depends on the kind of industry you want to work. I think Rafa did an amazing video of what he looks in terms of if he wants to hire someone. you have that video in your YouTube channel, and I have someone similar to my channel, and I'm sure if someone else who's is working for films, they will say something similar but different because they will look another thing they want to put in their films or whatever. So it depends on the industry, but yeah,
Yeah.
sure, quality versus quantity for sure.
Let's see. Someone asked about miniatures here. I want to get your opinion on this because I don't have a strong opinion because I haven't done a lot of miniature work. I don't know if you have, but Eric asked to start slowly getting into collectibles. Is it recommended to start with the miniature market since there are short terms jobs involved on that?
I actually started with the miniatures. I did just one or two because those was the first works that I received. But the miniature market, it is more aimed to Europe. I mean, you will not see too much miniatures in America, right? In America, it is more this kind of collectible industry. I'm not saying you will not find some things there, but in this case, miniatures it represents more the European countries. So it is a little bit easier in terms of the amount of details, but at the same time it is complicated because you have to put everything in one miniature piece, and you have to solve that. It looks awesome without putting details there. So I think it is everything. Any kind of industry have the tricky part, and the miniature has some things in particular that maybe it could be easier for you, but you should try because it takes less time to make it happen. So maybe you can start from that from there, and yeah,
And then focus on the portfolio for more complex
yeah,
complex pieces.
yeah.
That's it. That's good. I think we answered a lot of the questions here, which is great.
Awesome.
How did you study anatomy? Let me see. Let's finish with this one then. Like, what's your favorite piece that you've done so far? I have my favorite that you've done so far, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah. Do you have one?
My favorite that you've done. I really like. I mean, like as an overall piece, I really like the Hulk one.
Okay.
That's like really impressive. But I do appreciate like the Daredevil, for example.
Oh, nice.
Which is like, I think design work. I don't know if you design a lot of the costume yourself.
Yeah.
I think that one. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But I think that one to me speaks like.
Oh, nice. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I remember. That one. It was trickier. Yeah.
I love the design that you did on the mask, and it feels like you could put that on the MCU, and there's a lot of inspiration from some of the things that they were doing, which I think it translated pretty well for the piece.
Thank you, man.
Cool.
Thank you, appreciate
it. But I
it.
think the Hulk is the most impressive one.
Yeah,
and the Thor.
Yeah. Well, my favorite it is Thor because he has a more personal attached to that one because it was the first one who I could say, okay, guys, I have an idea. What if I can do this? And I came out with something different because at that time we were doing more stoic poses, more like museum poses. So I remember that they told me why we have to do something that probably will sell the same and will cost even more. And I would say because we have to try. And I found out that in 2019 it was one of the most best-selling pieces of entire Sideshow. So there was something special for me because I put a lot of time on that statue, just not only in the design, on the details, if not in the pose to make something believable and creating a kind of a mini diorama like Hulk. Hulk could be a diorama because he's fighting with a creature here, but Thor is doing the same too. So I think that was one of my favorites. Thor.
I got the statue because of this hand right here. Just so you know,
I love hands. Yeah, I love it. It's
pretty dope.
Thanks, man.
I'm probably the only one, but it is pretty good.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I love it, dude.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
cool,
it.
man. Let's wrap it up. This was awesome. I mean, we should do this again because I could talk for another hour,
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
and maybe we'll get some more questions from people the next time. But dude, I appreciate your time again. I'm a huge fan of the work that you've been doing.
Thank you, man.
You should be super proud,
Thank
and just keep doing what you're doing, dude.
Thank you, dude. It means so much hearing that from you. I'm a huge fan of your work, and it means really, really a lot, dude. Thank you. Thank you for real.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody who stayed in the chat and participated. The video is gonna be up as usual, and we'll do this again. We'll make sure. Maybe we'll do something together on your channel next time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, sure.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye bye.